No, that's the plan of the Neo Politans, I think, is it's like this core group of people, but it's to bring in people from the community, different people, different bands, just that's what music's about.
That was actually like what Bob pitched initially when he was trying to do this band. He was like, we're going to have the core and we can just rotate anybody who we want to kind of work with around it. So that was sort of like the early conception of this.
Yeah, the Neo Politans, three-piece.
Three-piece, yeah. It was going to start as a three-piece.
And when was that? When did you three start playing together?
Luke and I played for like, I don't know, we've been playing for about 5 years together.
Yeah.
And about 2 or 3 years ago started writing a lot. And the band that we were playing with we didn't need another outlet, I think. And the music was a little bit different. And that's where the Neapolitans came around. Plus Alex, who's the drummer, and my son-in-law, added so much to the band.
Yeah, some of that was really just wanting to play with Alex because he was just, he was great, and it was just another opportunity to get out your songs and then do something with him. So that was where that whole started. Yeah. And then Sean wanted to be a part of it. And he was in the other band, and we kind of got that going. So it kind of like fell together. I don't know how else to describe it. Bob writes about 6 songs a week, so
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, so there's always something to do or play or mess around with, so he had to do something.
Who were you two playing with before?
The band is the Watts. It's a cover band. Technically, we still kind of have that going, but
is Bob in that band on drums? Bob Bricks?
No. We lost our drummer recently, so.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, so we don't, it's one of those. But that band was the Watts. They kept having me sit in with them, and I finally just hung around long enough that they hired me.
Right. So the Watts was formerly Watts on Tap, cover band. Had a great time for about 15 years, playing all over the place, playing music that many of us played 10, 20, maybe even 30 years ago. And then people changed, people came, people went, and like I said, started writing more music, needed this other place to kind of get that music out, and that's kind of where the Neapolitans came in.
So you were writing these songs long before you were, getting together and forming the band?
Yeah, so I wrote a long time ago, 30-some years ago, and took a detour to raise a family, to work hard and, spent a lot of time away from music, sort of, doing all the things that a dad would do, coaching Little League, doing stuff like that. Have sons who are musicians who kind of took over my music space for many years. And then once they started getting out of the house, that's when I kind of started getting back into it. All the while having this cover band, the Watts. So, but yeah, once kind of COVID came, it gave me this time to and the kids kind of left the house. It gave me time and space to write. And the writing has just been nonstop for 3 or 4 years now.
And where do you get a lot of your inspiration for writing?
From the work. I'm constantly searching and listening. And observing. I think that's really what it comes down to. I'm just always, if I see something or hear something, I'm like, that might be a song idea. And I write it down somewhere, put it on my phone. And so I'm always looking for the next song. And then I bring them to the band, and then they just turn them into these, turn them into a song, I guess.
Yeah, I like that process. We have a similar process playing. I play with a couple bands, primarily with Caviar and Grits, and Michaela's wrote pretty much every song that we've played. And yeah, she brings the songs to the band, and we help bring it all together. So I'm very familiar with that process. Yeah. And I hear it, when getting to hear you all play. I know starting as a 3-piece, right? Very similar, setup, but now as a 6-piece, and seeing how you've joined in new members. How does that feel? Bringing in a couple new members. As you said, Sean came in. Now you have James doing the percussion and Megan as another vocalist. How has that been, bringing them into the band, and how's the I guess the flow been with the changing of the tunes?
A lot of it was just everybody sort of kind of making space as we're adding people. I know, like for myself, I was a lot busier when we first started. There was a lot of bass solos, and you're welcome. But it was but just being conscious of like making that space, because every time we've added somebody, it has added so much.
Yeah.
So it's all very like, it's all been very organic, very very natural, bringing everybody in. So when James and Alex start going off, you kind of, and we sort of will step back and let them do their thing. Megan starts harmonizing. We're changing harmonies now that we've got her in. So I mean, there's all sorts of like, just it's made us sort of make space and also rethink things. We've rethought these arrangements. That's sort of the beauty of how you write, because it's sort of like, it can start off with 3 chords, and you can take 3 chords anywhere, and as we're adding people, we're shifting what we're doing with those 3 chords. You know what I mean? Like, it's very you couldn't do this in a prog band. No. It's very cool how we've like evolved some of these songs that we started with. So
have you written any of the songs for this project?
I have one.
Yeah.
So occasionally you'll hear us rip out Devil's Blues, Luke Brown original. Just look out for that. Yes, we do one of mine, but I can't do what Bob does. And I like, and I'm not selling myself short. I like what I do, but Bob has this way of writing a song and bringing people in with a song they've never heard.
Yes.
And that is like, that's a skill that,
There's I was listening to the album last night, American Harmony, and I remembered hearing, I hope I'm saying the title right, I Got Everything. Is that a song?
Yeah, Everything.
Yep, Everything, right? And I remember hearing that song for the first time at the Bundy, and I was in the crowd with Jeff from Kid Bass, and we were just singing along to the song like right away, because it's just one of those tunes that, as you said, it brings you right in. It's like a hug almost.
Yes.
It's like a very happy
musical hug.
Yeah. And I was playing it this morning for my wife. I was like, hey, this is the band that's going to be coming over. This is the song, And my son was just running around the living room in circles, having a good old time. So yeah, it's excellent music, and kids are a good gauge, because they'll keep it real. They'll tell you if they like it or not.
If you got a kid dancing to it, I think we did the right thing.
Oh yeah.
Or singing along. That's sort of the idea with a lot of the stuff I write. I think is, can you hum it? Is it in your head after the next day or that night, and kind of bugging you because you can't get it out of your head? That's a goal. I think I did my job.
Yeah.
And if you have a little kid dancing, man, I really did my job.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the songs and getting the feeling from that. And the one song from the album that stood out to me, funny enough, was the song that you performed today, which is Saratoga. Can you tell me a little bit more about that song, about the story behind it?
The story behind Saratoga was, I mentioned my son earlier, who's a musician up in Burlington, Vermont, and he played a lot of pedal steel on the album. And we were just going to visit him, and meeting him in Saratoga, halfway between Endicott, New York, and Burlington, Vermont. Just happens to be Saratoga. And we were going the next morning, and I wrote that song on a Friday night, and it kind of turned into just, love for a son or love for anybody, I think. Kind of turned into a love story that, but it could be, didn't have to be a girl. It could be, like I said, my son, who I just, halfway home he's always with you, even if he's, 5-6 hours away. So that's kind of Saratoga, your home, wherever your home is, you're still here in my heart.
That was definitely one of my favorites of like the initial batch of songs that you did too. Like it was just very, I don't know, very immediate. And I actually did not know that's what that was about until right now. But the way that you write it is very, you give just enough details. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you can kind of write your own experience into it. So I know what I got out of it, and I really enjoy that idea of you singing about being halfway home and the excitement of, being nearly there. And, that you've got that whole element of coming together and things like that. Like that's like very, very obvious for the lyrics from me, and knowing that it's about your son is kind of, I don't know, it's pretty cool. I liked how we kind of arranged that one,
right?
Because it's very, very simple, and we kept it pretty simple overall. I love how Alex plays on that one, and he's not going flashy. It's just nothing but feel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
and while we're throwing stuff out, then the bass line is what really makes the song too. This beautiful bass line,
obviously. I mean,
but then if you listen to the song too, we didn't have the bridge. Megan came up with a beautiful part that Megan sings. So again, how the Neo Politans has expanded and how people have brought more and more into my simple 3-chord songs.
Bob is always really good about like who has ideas, like how are we going to do it? Like we're not writing the songs with him, but he's very like, he knows what everybody's sort of bringing.
Yeah.
And so if somebody pops up, he's kind of, I think it's fair to say you've thought about who we have around us, and like, because that person's going to bring this and can pop this up and do that and suggest that. So
yeah, I really enjoy the approach to it. That it's not these, and again, saying this with the most utmost respect, that these songs aren't overly complicated. They're enjoyable songs, and as a music lover, it makes that experience so great. When you can enjoy listening to something, it's people who are mostly just music listeners, for instance, they may not like prog rock so much because of how intense it is and how many layers there are to it and all the changes in it, where something like this, that danceability, the quality of getting the song stuck in your head, those things are all great. But I felt the same way listening to the song. I listened to Saratoga, I felt the vagueness of it. I was like, I'm not sure who you're singing about, but I did, feel like those kind of feelings of mainly just being away from home, and being away from loved ones. I definitely felt, it kind of reminded me of when I was like 19. I used to go to Oswego to do some training out there, and I'd be out there for like a week or two at a time, and like no family around, none of my friends, just the people that I was there working with, and that was like my first experience away from home. But at the same time, I had a good time, and that song has a good feel to it, where even though there's those moments of emotion and those hard feelings, at the same time, there's a lot of beauty in it. I'm sure that drive was a beautiful drive. driving in upstate New York, you know, and you get to see all the beautiful trees. So that's good. And oh my goodness, as a father myself, as a young father, you know, that definitely hits. Can imagine.
Yeah, stick around.
Yeah.
Don't go away.
So you've got the album out currently, American Harmony, which is 10 tracks, so full album. And what are we currently working on right now?
Well, we're getting American Harmony out as much as we can, which has been a lot of fun, playing a lot in the area. We started about a year ago working on about 30 songs at Abandoned Studios with Mike Micha, who's just a wonderful person to work with. And because of all the songs I've been working on, like I said, we started with 30 and we worked it down to 10, which was American Harmony. And now we're starting our second 10, or finishing the next 10, which is our country album, which was sort of what the Neo Politans was originally going to be, more of a little country feel to it. And that's called Dang. And Dang will be coming out in the fall of 24.
It's a good name of a country album. Dang.
That's it. But we're looking forward to that too. A lot more, the same, these songs all started last spring. So the live feel is there with the core of the Neapolitans, but then adding James, Megan, my son Ben playing pedal steel, my other son Jack, Mr. Chris James, a lot of people from the community. We're still looking for more people too. Moses, we might be bringing you in too, buddy.
Let me know if you ever need a fill-in. I would be honored to.
Yeah, that's part of the idea.
To come play with you guys. I really like that. It's important for this community, being that it's such a small music community, to take advantage of the opportunities. Regardless of, we've had situations in the other bands I play with where we had to have a fill-in guitarist. We've actually reached out to Mr. Chris James a couple times, to fill in. He's the man, he's the man. But it's important to work together like that, and what it does is it gives you an opportunity to. It's almost like a learning lesson, right? Because whoever's gonna, I know you guys were playing with Bess recently, right? She doesn't play bass like Luke plays bass, but she's still a great bass player, and I'm sure it's still a fun time, right? But it just was just a different way to play the songs,
Yeah. I was seeing clips of that show, and I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to tell them, and then I'm not. I'm not available. I'm just like hide in the audience, because I would have loved to watch that, because you guys sounded awesome. So don't fire me. But,
no, but yeah, the whole idea of playing with different people, I think that's really a part of the Neapolitans. I think that's a part of the Binghamton music scene,
yes,
which I really like, because in my first go around this music thing, which was many years ago, it wasn't that way. It was a lot more competitive, and so it's just a wonderful thing to see all these people come to each other's shows, play on each other's albums, be there to support. What you're doing right here, Moses, is just it's a beautiful thing for the local music scene. And all the original stuff. That's what's really exciting, So good stuff for happening.
Yeah, I started playing music around here when I was like 18, maybe a little bit younger, and at that age, I wasn't going out anywhere, so I was just playing the gigs with like a cover band or two. So I had no idea that these things were going on. And it wasn't until 2019 I had went to Callahan's Deep Cuts, the open mic there, and realized I was like, whoa, there's like all this crazy talent and this awesome original music. I didn't really know about original music until then, and just became a big fan of it. At the time, this band Honker was playing a lot. They actually played at my wedding, because they're just like,
really?
Yeah, so much fun, and I absolutely love them. And then getting to play in original bands, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be a part of. And it's just a very welcoming community, and it's good to see those barriers being broken down of, You know, it's not like, hey, we need to play a better show or we need to get more people at our show than this band. It's like, how do we work together? Just like we did this week. We got to play with Damn the Kid, Caviar and Grits, and Kapani. You know, big thank you to Kapani. They've continued to do that, where they're putting on these awesome events with multiple bands, and taking a lot of the burden of, you know, sound, having a backline, promoting the show. I mean, these are things that the venues that we want to play at aren't even doing for us, you know. So for another band to help put us out like that is awesome. So on the conversation of how great and awesome this community continues to build, big thank you to Kapani for that. That was an awesome event, and they freaking crushed it. That was you had left already, right? It was insane.
I booked a gig on the night I was moving out of an apartment, so you know that's why I had to go. So I was sad I missed it, but
it was insane. Yeah, they really brought it down, and just their stage presence, the fits. I always love that how they do it, and it's been a while since I'd seen it. I haven't seen them in like a year, and it's really cool to see what they've done to the production. All right, so what are the goals? I know that we've got our album, our 10 songs out. We've got a plan for another 10 songs in the fall, and then probably another 10 after that. So
it's a lot of music.
Just music. Looking to play with people.
Yeah. I'm excited to, like, I'm at a part of my life where I'm stopping working after many years in the schools, and looking to have forward to having much more time to do my music. So so expect, you know, we got a lot of music coming out.
Yep. So I mean, we laid down like 30 songs, like Bob said, like right out of the gate. So, you know, once we get the third album out, I'm sure we'll have another 30 all ready to go, you know. So I mean, it's, you know, we just keep rolling on. What's really, really cool about that too is just we know what album 2 is going to be like. We already know what album 3 is going to be like. You know what I mean? And we already have like this roadmap for the recordings, which is, you know, it's a cool feeling. So,
how do you get started with starting a new band? You've got all of these songs coming out of taking a little hiatus for music, Bob. You know, I think, how did you just get started? Like, what motivated you to get started again? How did you approach starting this new band? And, you know, I think we have such a expansive music scene, and people that are maybe looking to start bands, looking to songwrite, and you know, I think just being in your presence and around your band, I've gotten a master class and some of those things. I'm wondering, like, you know, and maybe just from your personal experience, like, what works for you. And Luke, feel free, because you're a songwriter as well and have been involved in some projects. Like, what advice would you have, or, you know, or just what worked for you to start a band and start songwriting and just get out there?
I guess just try, get out there and do it. I don't know. I mean, I think music is just this thing that, you know, gets people together, makes people happy. I think you can't be afraid too. I think at times, starting this new project, one of the first times we played at a pretty established place, and it was like a tornado watch, and we played for the bartender and my son and this couple who were there really for dinner, and I think they felt bad for us, so they stuck around. And you know, it was hard, but we just played our hearts out, and you know, people came later, but that was the first set. Was like
the first set was
4 people.
Yeah, that was the night we played during a tornado watch. Yes,
It was the two of you?
No, it was the whole band.
It was the whole band.
The 4 of us, I guess.
Yeah, there were more people involved in putting the production on than who were actually at the bar.
Was it around here?
It was at Ransome Steele.
But
it was a Thursday night during a tornado.
During a tornado, that was the deal.
The second set was, you know. So the point is, you know, it's a lot easier for me to pull out, you know, Sympathy for the Devil or Tom Petty or the Talking Heads or stuff that we've done for many years. Great stuff that I love playing, but to do your own stuff, it's you're just putting yourself out there.
I definitely think the being confident in the material that you have is very key. You obviously, if you're writing it, and you want to share it, you are confident in it, inherently. But we liked what we were doing. We thought, this is something that we can share with people. People will respond to. We were confident about that. And I think, if you don't have that confidence, if you're too worried about it, things like that, that's kind of hard to do. So, I think it's better to, you ask some advice about someone trying to start it up. I mean, to me, it's like, you almost have to, I don't mean this at all arrogantly, but you almost have to think like you're about to play the greatest song you're about to play ever. You're about to play something that people are going to like. And that's going to be your shot at people actually liking it.
It's interesting you say that. Bob and I were just at a concert for a well-established band, and there might have been 60 to 100 people in the audience. Not all the seats were filled, and for that venue, it was not as well attended as you would think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But that band came out and played a show like they were playing to 30,000 people and rocked the house. And it was so inspiring. And I think in a way that comes back to having that confidence, or just sort of faking that confidence until you feel confident on stage. And what a brilliant show.
Well, I mean, it's funny to say that too. And we were just talking about Kiss earlier. If you listen to some of those early Kiss stories, they were playing to nobody. They were playing in these places with full makeup and paint on, and like with this big like light up sign. They were putting the effort in, and I think that's the big part, is the work ethic, and putting the work into the performance and into the show, regardless of what the returns are going to be, and it's so tough. I know it myself when you've got to play to an almost or even empty room. How do you go? Let's have fun, right? Let's make it. Let's have a good time. Let's have the best performance, because even if there's only 4 people in the crowd, right? You could really make an impact on their day or their life or really anything, right, with music.
Those 4 people might go back and say, "Oh, you should have seen this band." Doesn't matter. There's only 4 people there. Doesn't matter if just the bartender's there. The bartender might say, "We're gonna do this again because this was good." Yeah, it's important. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's important. Anytime, any opportunity you get on stage, especially when you're starting out, it can be so discouraging. Singer songwriter, everybody's staring at the TV and kind of tuning you out. Just keep going out and turn your speaker up a little louder. I have a story about this. I actually told this at the open mic the other night.
Please.
So, I was playing someplace, and it was a WrestleMania night, and they had WrestleMania on, and it was solo. It was a solo show, and nobody wanted to hear somebody strumming a guitar right then, right? So I'm just, other than the people I brought, right? So I'm playing, and it was just, I knew it was going to be one of those nights, and I just look up, and everybody's heads, including like some of the people I brought, are just watching like what's going on in wrestling. So I'm like, well, I kind of look over, and I started morphing my song into what was going on the TV, So, he's jumping off the top rope, he's hitting him with a chair, now he's flying through the air, whatever I was singing. And one by one, these people are like starting to hear it. So they're turning towards me, and they're smiling, and I'm like, oh, I got him. Yes, I got him back. We're doing this. So I did. And I get through that part of the song, and I go back to my song. As soon as I stop singing anything about wrestling, back to WrestleMania. That was it. So I was like, you know what? I'm dead in the water unless I start singing wrestling theme songs.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, did you do the Hulk Hogan theme?
That's it. And, I should have brought some fireworks or something. But Degeneration X. but that said, even that is like one of my favorite moments ever I've had on stage. You know what I mean? Just because it was just this ridiculous moment, and I'll just never forget it. So
wow,
there's even fun to be had even in a moment like that.
We were playing a show together in New Paltz, and they had The Joy of Painting on.
Did you lose people to the joy of painting?
No, fortunately we didn't.
Okay.
It was in a good enough spot.
I think that just goes to show you that, it can be awkward and uncomfortable in the beginning, but also while you're doing it too, and you feel like people are listening to your music, or you hope they are, and you put a lot of work into putting a show on, and then when people don't show up, it hurts a little bit, but
Sure.
to go out and still do the best show that you can do, especially when you're playing about songs from the heart like Saratoga, and it's very vulnerable, and people are hearing it for the first time and maybe making their own interpretations. It's in a way, it's you almost have to act a little bit. And I also think too, like when the song means something to you and it's close, it's easy for that to just be portrayed on stage, right? And I think that's why I love to watch you guys so much, and especially listen to that song Saratoga. And Moses and I were talking on the phone before filming this, and I had found out you were playing Saratoga, and I was like, you have to ask them what that song is about. And I'm not telling you beforehand, because your reaction needs to be in the room and live, and it's going to melt your heart, especially as a father, And I think that's something that, Bob, you do very well on stage. The whole band just puts on a performance. I mean, your show at Ransome Steele for your album release was the best show I've seen all year. I mean,
Thank you.
Technically, the performance, the whole thing, the songwriting is wonderful. You already know this from conversations we've had together. And I think that takes skill, that takes discipline, and it's hard, and a level of confidence. And I think, for me, sometimes you just got to get through that first couple of songs, and then you just settle in with the band, and then, you play the best show. I think Bruce Springsteen maybe said this, or I heard this somewhere, so this might be a total misquote, but basically like the theme of this, or the main idea, was that someone in the audience, that's their first show that they've ever seen of yours, but it's also maybe somebody's last show they've ever seen or will see of yours. So you've got to play to both people.
Right.
Play for the people that are there to see you for the first time, that you're gonna just melt their faces and blow them away, and then play to that person, it might be their last show. So on two things, like maybe that's the last live music show that they ever see, or you play to that person because you want them back. You don't want it to be their last show.
Right. I remember learning that lesson kind of it was sort of a hard lesson for me, but teenager, very early 20s, sort of like if I had a bad show or I felt like I played badly, something happened, somebody would come up to me and be like, oh, great show, I'd be very excited, and I might say something like, oh, well, yeah, but, played, an F sharp there, and that shouldn't have gone, whatever stupid thing I said. And I would see that, like, it would just bring them down, and I finally realized after a while, like, nobody cares. Mm-hmm. Nobody cares. You're human. This is music being played by people. Mistakes are going to happen. Who cares? Somebody has a good time, enjoys what they're doing. It could be their first show. It could be their last show. It could be the best show they thought they've ever seen. You know what I mean? And it's like you almost have to, like, I had to be like, that's all it's about. That's all it is. Like, they've experienced it. They've enjoyed it. Awesome. But that was like like when I was real young, that was such a hard lesson for me to, like, they're not here to analyze every note. They're here to say, I appreciate what you did. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed tonight. So.
Yeah, man, they're enjoying that power of music, which to me is developing a heightened sense of awareness. We're so distracted all the time, and music tends to distract us from the distractions, where you're really like, wow, I can feel it here, I can see it, I can hear it, they're having a good time on stage. You start to absorb every piece of it, right? That's why, like, listening to music with headphones on versus speakers is so different, or on your phone, right? It's a whole different song.
Here's a question for all three of you. What is your favorite moment that you've had? So Bob and Luke, this is going to be towards the Neo Politans. You obviously are involved in other projects, but Bob, maybe we can start with you. What is your favorite moment so far on stage with the Neo Politans? Like maybe a moment that just you all looked at each other, or a song that you played.
Yeah. Well, I think actually it was probably at our album release show at Ransome Steele, where we had my son playing pedal steel and my other son playing guitar, and Megan kind of just really joined in the group, and James wasn't there actually because we wouldn't have fit him, but we had 3 members of Fall Creek Brass Band, and we practiced with them once, 2 nights before. They recorded on the album, but we never practiced other than 2 nights before. And the first time the horns came in, and you're just like, man, this is what it was about, and seeing the people in the crowd just dancing and having a great time. So I think when you pull it all together, it's hard to get everybody together. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got stuff going on in their lives. We still have never practiced with all 6 of them till today. Today was the first time we've really practiced with everybody. But
wouldn't have never guessed that.
yeah, it really is. Yeah. So
you can't get all 6 of us on the same schedule ever. So
yeah, so I think that would be a beautiful moment that we had on stage.
Yeah, I actually have 2. I one was very quick. You had written Last Song Tonight, and it was our first or second time ever playing it, and we were playing it at the garage, and we were outside and looking into the place, and it's a brand new song, nobody knows it, and by the end we had like pretty much everyone just singing that with us. Right. And that was just such a cool moment to like look out and just see everybody singing this song for the first time, So that was a big one.
And that song's coming out on the 2nd album, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So you'll hear that soon.
Coming out.
Dang.
Dang. Yep, that's a dang song. Thank you.
I'm just gonna say that randomly.
Dang. But for me, it really is the album release show, like we practiced with the horns that one kind of time a little bit, a few nights before, and like so we kind of got our bearings, but had no idea how that was going to go. And then there are moments in that show where we're jamming with the horns, and just all of us and Ben and 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 all of us are just moving as a unit, having not really worked as a unit. And to me, that was incredible, and just running off these, getting into the changes and all of us nailing it, it was very. And then you look out onto the audience, and they were with us the whole way. So that was, to me, the movement and the interplay of the band and the audience appreciating that was pretty much my favorite time.
Stuff we had never heard. We had never heard the
heard
horns.
it like that.
Ben had never practiced with us. So all of a sudden he stepped up and started playing, the pedal steel parts that we heard on an album, but not with the horns and not with everything else. So
it was a brilliant show. And for someone who's familiar with almost all of your songs that you have recorded at this point, watching it from the audience as a listener, right? It just, that, if I couldn't have been drawn in any more, like that just, yeah, I can't imagine what it's like for someone hearing those songs for the first time. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was a show. Of all the hundreds of shows we played over the years, that one stuck out.
Yeah, it's been awesome playing with your son. Playing those songs. I playing with both of them. I did hear him on the record, especially listening back to Saratoga this morning. But that's been great.
What's a moment for you?
A beautiful moment for me? I've had several. There's been several moments. Nothing like specific with the entire band. But I grew up in this town in Bing. In a lot of the places. I grew up in downtown Binghamton, and spent a lot of time at Rec Park. And I've been fortunate the last 3 years. This will be the 4th year to play at Harper Stance, which is Rec Park Fest. probably every year at some point while I'm playing, tears just run down my face, you know. It's just so much, it's just so emotional. The community, it's always like really nice. It's always like a beautiful day. Yeah, I don't know. You've seen those kids just dancing. It's special.
Yeah.
That's cool.
No, music will do that. That made me think of a song that's coming out on the Dang album that it's called Tommy Dancin'. And I wrote it for a dear friend of mine who's passed, Tommy Iacovelli, who was the best man at my wedding and wrote a ton of music, was in Get Lost with him, which was a band back in the day that spent a lot of time doing original music, playing in bars when I wasn't old enough to be in bars, playing at CBGB's and all sorts of places in Manhattan. And when we recorded that song, and actually Luke wasn't there that day, my son Ben was playing bass, and when we recorded it, I started crying just before the song was over, and that's the take we got on. That's the take we got on tape. And when we talk more about like the community, we played with Bess and with Chris, and we did Tommy Dancin' a couple of weeks ago, and it was just like the feel and the groove, or just music moves you, and it can bring you to tears.
Yeah.
Bob, you also have, not just in your music with the community and people, but even down to the album cover. You have a friend who is involved in the photo that's on there, right?
Yeah, so the album, the whole, the cover of American Harmony has been, it was a photograph that was taken by my younger sister's fiancé, who unfortunately was tragically killed in a car accident 2 weeks before their wedding. And he was a photographer, Dave O'Connell, just a beautiful, beautiful soul. And that picture has been hanging in my studio for 25, 30 years. And, where a lot of this music was written, all this music was written for the most part. And when we were coming up with the idea, or I was thinking of American Harmony and wanted to have an album cover, that just was just a beautiful representation of what the music is trying to portray. And what American Harmony is about is like, really, it just seems like the whole world, America especially, we could all use some more harmony. So that's kind of, but the album cover means so much to me, that photograph.
It's a beautiful photograph. If you haven't listened to the album or seen the cover, you got to check these guys out. Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you stream your music.
Thank you. And Chris, you did a nice job helping with that artwork too.
All right. Yeah. We got deep there. That was nice. I too, enjoyed that picture. I know I have an awesome shirt with that picture on there. Thank you, Bob. It's right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Chris and I were talking about the album cover this morning, and I was looking at this picture. Where was this taken?
It was on South Washington Street, I believe, in downtown Binghamton, in front of an old bar called the Royale, I think it was called.
Yeah, Royal Lounge.
Yeah, the Royal Lounge.
Yep.
No longer there. But just a beautiful picture of some kids of all different, ways and means and in harmony.
Yeah. It's a great pick. I just not only the message I'm seeing in this picture too, but I just love everything about it. It just says so much, and not only with your band and some of the music, some of the other bands that I'm noticing around here, there is almost like this there's almost like this vintage sort of feel, and I like the black and white. This is obviously an older photo. You can just tell by the way the bicycle looks and the dresses and everything. I love this kid over here too. I didn't notice that kid until earlier today. I was like, that kid. Oh man. So when could we expect to see you coming up soon here? I know you guys have a gig today, but when should we expect to see you around this summer? June, July. What are shows looking like?
What do we got? We got
You buy one of these cool shirts there.
Yeah, we got merch over all the places we're playing. We have Ransome Steele in July.
Yep.
We've got.
We got,
I'm supposed to be ready for this question.
Yeah, right. Hang on. Allow us to pull out our phones. Can you give us just one moment?
We can also put these dates in the description of the video.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description. And honestly, a big part of doing this is wanting people to make sure that they're following you guys on all the platforms, so they can keep up to date with what's going on and what shows you've got coming up. Because you put on a great show. As people will see in the performance from earlier today. Music sounds amazing. Everybody is very talented, very respectful. It's always a great time. You never know what to expect meeting the band, and it was a really great day.
No, and thank you to you, Moses. You've been a gracious host, and what you're doing for the local music scene is just amazing. Like as a performer, but also as just a promoter in a sense. How you're getting original music out and getting it out to people, which thank you for that.
Agreed. You're doing a nice thing with this, Moses.
Excellent.
Well, I appreciate that, and right back at you. I thank everybody for the music. It makes me feel good. This is what I listen to when I'm jamming. I love listening to our music. Right, whether it's Grown Ups, I've been listening to Making Strangers a little bit more recently. I love those guys. Neos,
yeah, you guys are great.
Damn the Kid, and I didn't know that album, that the Neos album, just came out like a month ago. So I've got to add that to my playlist, which I'll need to share that playlist. I have it's called 607 2024, and I've got currently all the 2024. 607 music out there, right? Grown Up's new album, Caviar and Grits, Kid Best with some new music, Damn the Kid with some new music. So if anybody's got any music they just dropped this year, let me know so I can add it to that playlist.
Definitely share that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was so great having you again. Great performance. Thank you so much for staying back, hanging out with us. I wish we had room for everybody in here. It's be a little tight. We'd have to have somebody hanging off the ceiling or something. We need I need bleachers in here. Maybe that'll be.
Oh yeah, there we go.
That'll be the next. That'll be that'll be for season 3. We'll have bleachers. Maybe like a locker room kind of vibe.
Alex is tiny. We probably could have had him under there somewhere.
Where can people find you online?
Neopolitans.band.
Yep.
Neopolitans.band.
Yep.
That's it.
Facebook, Instagram. Check them out.
That's right. Check them out. And check out their full performance over here at our friend's studio of Saratoga. Great performance. Again, thank you guys so much for coming by, and look forward to hearing more music.
Thank you.
Nice having us.